felt like the one that I wanted to do was IndyCar.
Romain Grosjean makes it official. He is coming to the NTT IndyCar Series. We'll discuss all the news from today. IMSA Rolex 24 Hours is in the books. Kobe is here to recap the entire 24-hour race. And we have Adam, our supercar expert, as he discusses the news about Jamie Whincup calling it a career after the season. All that right here on Grid Tonight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish, and with me, as always, Joe Samniego, and our supercars expert Adam will join us later in the show. Be sure to comment down in the chat room below, and we'd love to share your questions and opinions on the air. Joe, we had our first Grid Live pre-race show of 2021 this past Saturday, IMSA edition. We had an eventful Rolex 24 at Daytona. We'll definitely highlight all of the major storylines from that event. But first, let's talk about the major news of a Formula One driver switching to IndyCar.
Indeed, major news today, and it's finally official. This morning in IndyCar, it was made official that Romain Grosjean is going to come and race in the NTT IndyCar Series in 2021.
That, after doing 10 years in Formula One, I had the option to discover something new. And, there were few options on the table, but I felt like the one that I wanted to do was IndyCar. And, I got in touch with Dale last year, before Imola. And I really felt that there were a big enthusiasm on getting me on board, and something that I really, really loved and felt good about. And, I looked at the options that I had, and I say, what I want to do is to go in IndyCar, because I've been watching the races. The series looks super competitive. The car looks fun to drive. The circuit looked amazing, just the old style that I really like. When you look at Road America, Mid-Ohio, all the street courses, Laguna Seca, they are part of the circuits that I used to play video games on those when I was, 20 years ago. Not good to say that, but 20 years ago. And I am super excited to discover the championship. I've been absolutely hammering the YouTube channel of the IndyCar over the Christmas period and watching every race for the last 3 seasons and trying to understand what I need to learn. So there's lots to learn, from a rolling start to doing the pit stop to learning the car. But I'm ready to tackle the challenge, and I think it's the right one.
Now, Roman, along with Dale from Dale Coyne Racing and Rick Rare from Rick Rare Racing, were all at the press conference this morning. Roman expressed great excitement about the change and how the driver can be a big factor in such a close field. Here's what he had to say about the upcoming season in IndyCar.
Follow the car in front of you, the way you can slide the tires, the way you can try to play with your push to pass. The fact that the car in qualifying are within 6/10 of each other between the pole position and pretty much the last row. This is all really exciting, and you need to get the details right and so on. And I think, yes, as you say, you don't have the differential that you can move. You don't have the recovery and all the shaping and the braking and all the hybrid system that you can have in Formula One. But I think the racing, yes, the car a little bit slower, but the racing looks much better from everything I've been seeing. So, I think in that aspect, I'm super excited about it.
IndyCar, the drivers are accessible to the fans with autograph sessions, especially pre-pandemic. You're going to be in some races, including Portland International Raceway in the city of Portland, the Music City street race in Nashville. How exciting is it, especially for some of these new areas, and then potentially being able to interact with the fans even more, especially American race fans here?
It's super exciting. I don't know much of the US, as surprisingly as it is. I've been traveling around the world a lot, and the first time I came to New York in my life was 2018. Whilst I've been pretty much everywhere else. So I know a little bit of New York, obviously Austin, a little bit of Los Angeles, but nothing really outside of that. So I'm super excited to discover new places, and with the jet lag anywhere, we need to come quite early on the races to get used to that. So it's going to be a great opportunity to discover something new, and as you say, to discover a new paddock as well, where you don't need a very complicated passes to enter, and you can have interaction with the fans and open paddock, sharing with the drivers, and sharing passion. If you come to see a racetrack, it's because you're passionate about racing cars, and if you're a driver, it's because you're passionate about racing cars. So we've got many things to share.
Very exciting for Roman. This is going to be a huge change. And one of the things he did give an update about his recovery. He's about 90% healed. As you may have seen, his hand's still a little bit red, but he should be at 100% by the season opener in mid-April. He might have some discomfort in a test February 22nd at Barber Motorsports Park, but overall he feels pretty good and ready to be back in the car. Kobe, Roman isn't the first driver from Formula One to come to IndyCar. We saw Marcus Ericsson, Alexander Rossi, Ruben Barrichello, and many others do this, and especially Nigel Mansell. In 1993, he won the car championship after winning the Formula One World Championship in 1992. What will you be looking for his first season here in the IndyCar series?
Well, for Romain Grosjean's very first season in the IndyCar series, I think number one, he's really going to enjoy himself because we all know IndyCar is very competitive, and this is a series where the driver can definitely play a larger role in what happens throughout the race instead of in Formula One, where Grosjean was for the most part this past season not really competitive with the Haas F1 team since Haas has really declined a lot in recent years. And I think one of the biggest things that Roman's going to enjoy is the competition and being able to go out there and be competitive. And I think a lot of people forget when Roman was first starting out as a Formula One driver, he really put a lot of wonderful drives together with the Lotus F1 team. So Romain Grosjean is definitely a very talented driver, and I understand some people feel like he did. I know I've said it before on our previous programs that he might have overstayed his welcome in Formula One, and that might be true to a certain extent. But I'm sure Grosjean is really going to be looking forward to racing in the IndyCar series, and I think during the first half of the season it's going to be a learning experience, and as time progresses, he's just going to get better and better.
Does appear, I think, especially with Dale Coyne Racing, that first half of the season, it's going to be a learning curve. As he mentioned too, the rolling start, the pit stops, but I do see with his experience, and especially if he can stay out of trouble, especially when it comes to the street course, St. Pete, I think he has a good shot. Barber Motorsports Park being the season opener, great opportunity for him and Dale Coyne Racing. He joins an all-star lineup of rookies, and it's hard to say that these are all rookies competing against each other. Romain Grosjean from Formula One, Scott McLaughlin from the joining Supercars series, the defending champion there, and of course, 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson. Out of the three rookies, who has the upper hand coming into 2021?
Oh, definitely Romain Grosjean, hands down, because although IndyCar racing is obviously different than Formula One, it's still open wheel racing, and this is the closest type of racing that Romain Grosjean is used to. Jimmy Johnson, he's been racing stock cars, and Jimmy's been slowly getting up to speed in the IndyCar, but he's not quite there yet. And I think I remember him saying this past weekend at the Rolex 24 that is going to take him a while before he'll start being competitive. Yeah, but if you look where Jimmy was when he was first in the IndyCar and to where he was in the most recent test at Sebring, Jimmy went from being like 3 to 4 seconds off the pace for being like a second and a half, and that's a huge jump. And that's great for Jimmy Johnson. I know Scott McLaughlin last year, very impressive it was a preseason test at Circuit of the Americas. Yes, Scott McLaughlin had some fantastic lap times, and then at St. Pete when he made his IndyCar debut at the end of last season, it didn't exactly go well for Scott McLaughlin. So it's definitely going to take him a while to get up to speed. So overall, with Romain's experience in Formula One and especially open wheel racing and all of the years that he has, I definitely think he has the upper hand, while Scott McLaughlin and Jimmy Johnson might take them a little bit to get up to speed.
I would have to agree with you. Romain Grosjean does seem to have the upper hand. It's going to be really interesting. Romain Grosjean, Dale Coyne Racing, smaller team, a little less funded. That could all change, of course. Scott McLaughlin doesn't exactly have the experience. He's been in supercars, of course, a stock car, did road course racing. He's with Penske, some of the best equipment. And then Jimmy Johnson, Cup Series driver, mostly on the ovals. He's in Chip Ganassi equipment. So it's really interesting. Romain may not have exactly the top caliber equipment, But still, it's going to be very competitive between all the, and we've seen Dale Coyne Racing win races, especially with Sebastian Bourdais. Good runs. I think of Santino Ferrucci having some good runs with them. April 18th is when we're going to see the IndyCar Series kick off their season. Roman will not be running at Texas nor Indianapolis Motor Speedway or the Indianapolis 500. Maybe Gateway Motor Speedway race, dependent on testing. There are 17 races in the schedule, 13 with Romain Grosjean and Jimmy Johnson. We're excited to see the NTT IndyCar season start up. We're also very excited to see Juan Manuel Correa return after surviving a horrific crash that claimed the life of Antoine Hubert. Juan Manuel Correa will return to racing for the first time since August 2019. Art Grand Prix signed Correa to drive in Formula 3. Since that tragic day in Spa, Correa had underwent multiple surgery and a lengthy rehab. Many wonder if he'll ever be able to return to racing. His recovery has been well documented on social media every step of the way. Previously, he was with Alfa Romeo Formula 1 development driver and drove for Sauber junior team in Formula 2. Correa has an opportunity to get back on track, continue chasing his dream of being a Formula 1 driver.
Yes, it's been absolutely remarkable watching Juan Manuel Correa and his recovery since the tragic day when we lost Antoine Hubert. Remember, he suffered those horrific leg injuries, had multiple surgeries, and look where he is today. Correa, he's persevered through it all, and now he's gonna finally get back to racing, something that he truly loves, and we're definitely gonna be watching Juan Manuel Correa as he returns to action later this season. And last weekend, we were all treated to one heck of a show at Daytona. A few hours ago, NBC Sports said this was the most watched IMSA race since 2008. NBC viewership averaged over 1.1 million people. And altogether, NBC and NBCSN had an increase of 19% viewership. And definitely the 59th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona did not disappoint. Starting with the DPI class, we saw an epic race for the entire 24 hours. In the closing minutes of the race, Ringer Van de Zande and Chip Ganassi Race's number 01 Cadillac DPI was chasing down Felipe Albuquerque and number 10 Wayne Taylor is in Konica Minolta Acura DPI. As the Flying Dutchman got closer and closer to Albuquerque, a tire went down on the Ganassi Cadillac, forcing Van de Zande to pit. This ultimately handed the win to Wayne Taylor Racing, Felipe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor, Alexander Rossi, and Helio Castroneves, their third consecutive overall victory in the Rolex 24 for Wayne Taylor Racing, and their fourth overall win in the last 5 years. For years in LMP1 at Le Mans, people always noted Audi has been the team to beat for so many years because they've won Le Mans 13 times. With Wayne Taylor Racing dominating the Rolex 24 these last few years, are they on their way to becoming one of the legendary sports car teams like Team Yost?
I do say they are definitely one of the legendary teams in sports car racing. The Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona is definitely up there when it comes to some of the most prestigious events. And sports car racing, of course, nothing can beat Le Mans 24 Hours, but still, the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, especially as Erin had mentioned in our special program, the challenges of that event on the equipment, the drivers, everything. It takes a lot to win. And to see just to not only win one, but multiple, and now 3 in a row, 4 out of the last 5, it's just an amazing effort by that team.
One of Van de Zande's teammates was ex-Haas F1 driver Kevin Magnussen. We just talked about his former Haas F1 teammate, Romain Grosjean. And when I woke up on Sunday morning, I saw Kevin Magnussen make an aggressive, bold pass for the lead, something we never got to see him do in Formula 1. In IMSA, he has an opportunity to show what he can do behind the wheel, where a driver can play a much bigger role with closer competition. The same thing for Romain Grosjean in IndyCar. I know I already said this to all of my followers on Twitter. You can follow me at Kobe Lambert on Twitter. But Joe, can you imagine the smile under Kevin Magnussen's helmet as he actually had a car that could fight for the lead?
Oh man, definitely he had to have such a good, feel-good day, night, and the following day racing. I know one of the big things, Romain Grosjean said he talked to Kevin Magnussen after the 24 Hours of Daytona, and Kevin expressed how it was such a change, a nice change, to be in competitive equipment, to be running up front, to be racing for the win. And considering everything they went through in Haas together, being in the back, when they were up front, we all famously remember Australia, how their tires literally came off after that pit stop, ruined their good run, and they've just been plagued in the back. So for Kevin Magnussen, As he told Romain Grosjean, it was just such a positive change to be up front and be competitive again and continue for a win.
Yeah, definitely. And in LMP too, Joe, I know both of us, we had a little bet here. I said that a WEC P2 team would win, and Joe said it would be an IMSA team. Ultimately, I'm the loser, and Joe won this time around, but I'm going to get him next time. Air Motorsport took class honors with Kyle Tilley, Dwight Merriman, Ryan Dial, and Paul Luke Chatin. And this was not only a special win for Air Motorsport, but also a little boy from Canada. Air Motorsport had a contest where a race fan could design a special livery for their LMP2 car. Owen from Ottawa, and I know they mentioned him several times during the NBC broadcast, won the contest and designed the livery that ended up winning the LMP2 class at Daytona. For a young race fan like Owen, how important are contests like this to get the next generation of race fans involved and engaged?
It is huge. I mean, that race fan is going to be a race fan for life, easily. I mean, how many young kids do you know that can name a sports car team, let alone the drivers that won a class in the Rolex 24? This young fan, he now can. He's definitely going to be fun. I think this is the kind of stuff we like to see, engaging younger audience, making it where they feel there is something vested in them. He's going to treasure that paint scheme forever, and that paint scheme is going to live essentially forever in the history books as a winner of the Rolex 24 Hours.
Yes, and that's definitely a great way to create a fan for life. And I know if I was that age and I saw that happen with the livery that I designed, I'd be jumping up and down and going crazy, like so excited. And I'd love racing for the rest of my life. I'm just really happy for Owen that Aero Motorsport won in his livery, because I know that's something that he'll remember for the rest of his life. And Riley Motorsports took class honors in LMP3's series debut with drivers Gar Robinson, Scott Andrews, and two former full-time IndyCar drivers, Spencer Pigot and Oliver Askew. Looking at Askew, we know the story about his fall from grace at Aero McLaren SP after his concussion. We all know what happened there. And then he landed his IMSA seat, earned a Rolex watch, and traveled to Sebring the next day. At Sebring, he participated in a preseason IndyCar test with his old Indy Lights team. Andretti Autosport substituting for James Hinchcliffe, who could not make the test session. First day Rolex 24 win, then testing an IndyCar for Andretti the very next day. Is Oliver Askew on a path to redemption?
It sure looks like it, doesn't it? Considering this is very similar to a time where we've seen a driver lose out on a ride, they land in test and roll, that keeps them active, that keeps them in shape, keep them to date with the car. They're not following behind if they're out of the car 2 or 3 years. This is something where, for Askew, cars play right for him. He could easily be back in IndyCar, and with this LMP3 win, definitely got a lot of people talking about him for a good cause.
Yeah, definitely. Oliver Askew, after looking at some of his lap times, he did a really good job filling in for James Hinchcliffe. And I'm sure we haven't heard the last of Oliver Askew in the IndyCar series. And in GTLM, we saw a Corvette 1-2 finish. How many times have we said that? With the number 3 entry, earning a Rolex watch with Jordan Taylor, Antonio Garcia, Nicky Katzberg. We'll have a follow-up shortly, diving in a little deeper to highlight a breaking news story after the race involving one of the Corvette racing drivers. Flashing back to the start of the race, we saw a crazy incident involving Bruno Spengler's BMW and Kevin Estra's Porsche. At the GT field split start, Spengler got in the back of Estra and turned him around in front of all the GT cars. This ultimately ruined the WeatherTech Porsche's chance for victory. Overall, there was decent action in GTLM's last ever Rolex 24, and it's really sad that I'm saying that. So we saw intense Corvette battles. BMW was definitely up there as well. The Risi Ferrari led late until a pit stop dropped in the 4th in class. So definitely a great race in GTLM and wonderful memories, especially now I'm thinking about that Corvette photo finish from several years ago. Joe, what do you think of GTLM's final dance at Daytona?
It was overall a good race, definitely a good showing from the GTLM class. I think a lot of people are going to miss that class going forward, but it's just part of the sport, the direction it's going. I think what they're going to do, making essentially a pro class in the future for GT racing, might be something that will get people excited. Now, we do want to remind everyone, if you are in the chat room, be sure share your questions or opinions with us. We'll be happy to share it online and try our best to answer your questions.
Yeah, and really appreciate my good friend Joe Dexter right there for watching Appreciate you, Joe, and make sure, Joe, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll definitely answer them, as Joe Samniego just said. And last but not least, the GTD class was ultra competitive. I remember the final hours of the race when the GTD teams had their quickest drivers behind the wheel. Drivers who are the best of the best: Mauro Engel, Rafael Marcello, Andrea Caldarelli, Klaus Bachler, Ross Gunn, and many more. At the end of the day, the number 57 Windward Racing Mercedes-AMG GT3 won the GTD class with Russell Ward, Philip Ellis, Andy Donch, and Mauro Engel. Windward is a well-known team in the Michelin Pilot Challenge who made their GTD debut also in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in general. And in December, with an interview with Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, team owner Bryce Ward said the team had only planned to race in the Rolex 24 with a move to GTD likely full-time next year. After winning at Daytona, do you think they might reevaluate their program and go all out for the Endurance Championship?
I say they definitely have to. I mean, after getting this win, just seeing the excitement when that Mercedes was coming across the finish line, all them on pit wall just screaming, cheering. They pull off this huge win. They have to reevaluate. People are going to want to see them at the track. They're going to want to see that car. I think it's going to make it for a really great year overall for the program.
And after the race, Chevrolet issued a statement that Corvette racing driver Antonio Garcia tested positive for COVID-19. Although he wasn't experiencing symptoms, he was pulled immediately from the Rolex 24 when it was known that his test came back positive. And this meant Jordan Taylor and Nicky Katsberg had to drive the final hours of the race as a duo without the driver, dubbed as the King of Spain. Garcia's positive test led to many questions as others wondered how something like this wasn't caught before the race and potentially exposing others to the virus. Corvette Racing even received criticism for waiting until the race had ended before revealing Garcia's positive test. A few hours later, Garcia responded to this situation on social media, admitting that he tested positive for COVID-19 in late December and had symptoms, but he decided not to share this information with the public because he felt that it was something that's personal and private. He ended up recovering from the virus 5 weeks ago and described his test result as a false positive. And the fragments of that virus can remain in your body for a while, which can sometimes lead to a positive result. And in the end, Antonio Garcia cleared up such a confusing situation as it was happening in real time, and he'll definitely be looking forward to getting back in the number 3 Corvette Racing C8R at Sebring next month. Now here's a full rundown of the 2021 Rolex 24 Daytona finish in order and race summary.
DPI had a total of 7 cars. Tough break for Chase Elliott and the Wheeling Engineering team as they only matched a 6th place finish due to mechanical issues that plagued their race. LMP2, Cody Ware and Austin Dillon bring that Rick Ware Racing 51 home in 4th place, considering the big news with Rick Ware Racing and Romain Grosjean. Great start for their season. Tough break for Robert Kubica and Ryan VK, where they both finished with mechanical issues out and early of the Rolex 24 Hours in Daytona. Now over at LMP3. LMP3 only saw 5 out of the 7 entries finish the class. This is the first F for LMP3. Meanwhile, over in GTLM, the final outing for this class saw 6 participate. Of course, we know the issues the WeatherTech team faced at the start. Meanwhile, GTD. Turner Motorsports 6th place had a little bit of a scare in pit row when a couple crew members were hit by the fueling rig as he tried to drive away with the fuel rig attached. Meanwhile, Christina Nelson, Catherine Legg bringing home a top 10 finish in GTD. Great effort by them. Looking forward to see how they do all season long. In total, there was 19 teams in GTD Daytona this year. Overall, very competitive class. Looking forward to Sebring. Of course, the race went 24 hours. In total, there was 12 cautions for 72 laps, 72 lane changes. A very eventful Daytona Rolex 24 hours. Yesterday, some big news came out from the Australian Supercars series. 7-time Supercar champion Jamie Whincup announced that he will retire full-time driving at the end of 2021 season. Last year, he finished 4th in the Supercar standings, he hasn't finished outside the top 10 in a long time. The last time that occurred was before 2006. The last few years, he's been in the top 5 points always. Very impressive record for the 37-year-old racer. Now, joining us right now, of course, is our supercar expert, Adam. Adam, definitely excited to have you on the program. How big of a surprise was it to hear about Jamie Whincup retiring after this season?
It was a complete surprise from everybody. Nobody saw this coming. I don't think anyone, even in the supercars industry, knew this was coming. This was shocking news to everybody, but I know he'll go for broke trying to go out in style in 2021, winning his 8th championship under Red Bull Holden Racing.
Definitely, I have to agree with you. It looks like he's going to try to get number 8. Of course, that's going to be a really big deal for him. Now, of course, last season he finished 4th in the standings. He's always been in the top 5. I mentioned last time he finished outside the top 5 was 2006. Very impressive for his racing career. One of the big things, how significant is this? I know a lot of times the best example I could think of, Jimmy Johnson leaving NASCAR was huge. This is a 7-time champion. But we also lost Scott McLaughlin, the defending champion. He's going to IndyCar. Who's left to be sort of the Supercar Series' next big star?
Well, if you want my opinion, I'll go with Jamie Whincup's teammate, Shane Van Gisbergen. Earlier this year, he won the 2021 New Zealand Grand Prix, which was an open wheel race in his home country. Among the competitors that were in the series were current driver Andre Heimgartner and former series champion Greg Murphy. Shane started last, and he came to the field and won in front of his home fans. So, to me, I'll go with Shane Van Gisbergen. He has a lot of experience driving supercars. Last year, he won the Bathurst 1000, and I think he's going to be the next face of the supercars.
Shane is definitely a good name out there. Definitely on his way up. Now, of course, as you mentioned, you said you're going to see Jamie Whincup. He's going to go out there all for broke to try to get that 8th championship. Will this put additional pressure on him? And could this be an issue, or do you feel Whincup is such a good driver that he's just so driven? This is just extra motivation for him to get number 8.
I think this is extra motivation, to go out and win his 8th championship. He'll go down as one of the greatest supercars drivers in history. He will be named with legends like Peter Brock and Mark Skaife. So if I were Jamie Whincup, I'd go all out, go for broke, and try to win championship number 8.
Going for championship number 8 is definitely going to be really exciting to follow the Supercar Series. And we encourage everyone to follow Adam on Twitter. He is our supercar expert. We're very excited to have him all year long for supercar coverage, as well as next week with Daytona, the pre-race program, and that's all right here on the Grid Network. Now, also, we do want to share some exciting news involving Erin Vogel. Of course, she has made several appearances on Grid Network programming, including the Women Racing to Win and Grid Live IMSA pre-race edition for last weekend's Rolex 24 Hours. Today, she announced her 2021 racing plans. After racing the McLaren GT4 in the SRO Sprint X Championship, Erin will join DXDT Racing 3-car GT World Challenge America program, driving the number 19 Mercedes AMG GT3 with sponsorship from CrowdStrike. The co-driver will be, again, Michael Cooper from last season with Flying Lizards Motorsports. Definitely going to be a good see the two of them working together again. It has been a goal of Erin to be racing in GT3 cars for several years, and now it's becoming reality. We'll be following Erin throughout her 2021 season in the GT World Challenge America on the Women Racing to Win. Now it's time for some quick takes.
Joe Gibbs Racing re-signed Denny Hamlin, longtime sponsor FedEx, to a contract extension. This is a multi-year agreement to bring back such a successful partnership that we've seen for years now in the Cup Series. Team owner Joe Gibbs is thrilled to have them return, saying that Denny continues to be a top performer in the sport, with the goal of putting him and FedEx in position to get that first championship together. For now, this will put any speculation to rest that Denny will move to his own Cup team, 2311 Racing, that he co-owns with basketball legend Michael Jordan. And speaking of 2311 Racing, the team announced that Ty Dillon will drive the number 23 Toyota Camry in the Busch Class next Tuesday night on the Daytona road course, giving 2311 a chance to get some experience working together as a team before a full season with Bubba Wallace.
NASCAR Hall of Fame posted an update on legendary broadcaster Ken Squire. According to Ken Squire's daughter, Ashley Jane, Ken is continuing his recovery from COVID-19 and he is now wheelchair bound. She thanked the excellent people at Woodbridge in Berlin, Vermont for taking care of him. As the family makes structural changes to bring Ken home, they hope to take him to a racetrack in the coming months.
There are some heavy hearts in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. The owner of Beard Motorsports passed away at age 72. The team released a statement on Monday night announcing the sad news about Mark Beard Sr. Beard Motorsports usually enters the super speedway races at Daytona and Talladega with Brendan Gaughan behind the wheel. However, with Gaughan retiring, they chose another Las Vegas driver, Noah Gragson, to take his place in the number 62 for the Daytona 500. And Gragson responded to Mark Beard Sr.'s death by saying, I quote, "Time to go drive the piss out of it and do it for Mr. Beard in the 500. And Gragson is driving an open car, so he'll either have to make the race on speed or race his way in through the duels.
Pierre Gasly became the latest Formula One driver to test positive for COVID-19. He is the sixth driver ever joining the list of Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc. Gasly has said he has notified everyone that he has been in contact with and is self-isolating until he recovers.
Marco Andretti will race in SRX this summer. When Andretti announced that he wouldn't run the full IndyCar season, he made it clear that he intends to focus on the Indianapolis 500 and maybe take a look at sports car racing for now. He'll also be racing in the series founded by his buddy Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham, the Superstar Racing Experience. It's an all-star series that will include successful and championship-winning drivers from multiple disciplines such as NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, Trans Am, and sports cars. And the 2021 SRX season gets underway on June 12th at Stafford Motor Speedway for 6 consecutive weeks of racing in the summertime.
We encourage everyone to take 5 minutes after the show to join our Patreon. Show your support for the Grid Network. Invest in our network as we continue bringing racing coverage week after week throughout the 2021 year. We've got to give a special thank you to Colin, our first Patreon sponsor. Encourage you to join Colin in supporting the Grid Network. And be sure to visit Publis. 10% discount for Grid Network viewers. Link in the video description. Portion of your sales goes to helping sick and homeless dogs in need of assistance. Publis, they take care of our dog Kiska, our Grid work dog. Encourage everyone to click on the link below so you can get that 10% discount for being a Grid Network viewer. Tomorrow, we got a very exciting show of the women racing to win. And of course, Saturday, Grid Live News as we recap and discuss all the news occurring since we go off the air today. For Kobe at the Podium Finish and Adam, our supercar expert, I'm Joe. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time.
Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.